So, hello, folks. Hope you're doing well today. I hope you're well and happy wherever you are, wherever you're listening to this. I am going to talk about how to develop a growth mindset, why this is important, the different facets of a growth mindset, and a little bit of my own journey with it as well, because it has not, I didn't start off with a growth mindset, that's for sure. So, yeah, if you're somebody that wants to make change, maybe you don't believe change is possible for you, if you see yourself as being on a path of personal growth and personal development, then this is the podcast for you. And before we get into it, I'd love you to come and visit me on my website, calmeryou.com. I have all of these podcasts there, over 200 podcasts, loads of blog posts, loads of free resources. I'm often doing workshops live that you can get involved in. I've got a free workbook there on the homepage that you can sign up for. I send out a weekly newsletter where I'm sharing my own journey with things that I'm learning, things that I'm discovering that I want to share with you, and practical tools and ideas on being a happier and calmer and more confident version of yourself. So let's get into the episode and talk about that. So all of us are capable of change. This was something that took me a long time to realize myself. I think it was only really when I got into hypnotherapy and discovered that I could change, because the hypnotherapy was one of the things that worked for me where other things hadn't. Prior to that point, I kind of told myself things like, I'm just an anxious person. There's not much that I can do about it. Change is for other people. That's, for those gullible people, those gullible people will change. But me, I'm just kind of like an impenetrable, fortress of a human being that is not capable of change. And thankfully, that was not the case. And I know that that is not the case for any of us, because we are all changing all the time, whether we realize it or not. Change is happening in every single cell of your body and in all of your neurons. They are constantly changing and rewiring depending on what we hear. So just listening to this podcast is already starting to change your brain and what we do and what we learn and what we focus on. So you might have heard of this concept of neuroplasticity, which actually scientists only really discovered in like the 80s or 90s was a thing. They used to think that your brain was kind of fixed, and if the structure of your brain doesn't change much throughout your life, but they realized that actually your brain is changing all the time and new neural connections are being formed and old ones are fading away depending on what you do and learn and think about. So that means that your skills, your abilities, and the way that you think are all changeable. They're all something that we can influence through what we do, what we hear, what we focus on, what we imagine. In hypnotherapy, I'm often really helping people to change the wiring of their brains by getting them to think about themselves in a different way, getting them to think about the world in a different way. And in hypnotherapy, we get into a very receptive state whereby we're very open to positive suggestions and we're very able to use our imagination in a powerful way to start to think about ourselves as calm and confident people, for example, as people who are resourceful and strong and capable, and people that can do the things that we want to do. So that's one way that we can start to change our neurology and change our minds. But I'm going to talk you through the different kind of facets of a growth mindset and how we can start to tune into it more. And the term, growth mindset came from Carol Dweck. You may have heard of her before. She was a professor of psychology at Stanford, and she, did a lot of work on the growth mindset. And a growth mindset essentially is knowing that with effort and attention, we can learn, improve, and get better. So it's a vital component for change, having a growth mindset. Because if you don't believe that you can get better, if you think, I'm just an anxious person, there's nothing much I can do about it, or I'm no good at public speaking, and so there's no point in even trying. I'm not going to go for that promotion because I'm never going to get better at it. That mindset is literally the thing that is going to stop you from changing. It's this mindset that needs to shift. And once that shifts, if you believe that you can change and learn and grow, that opens up a whole world of possibilities for you in a way that you don't have access to if you have a fixed mindset. So the truth is that for almost every skill, we can improve and we can learn with attention, practice, and effort. And that's not to say that you could suddenly become the next 100-meter champion runner or the most confident person in the world, going from a person that's very shy and anxious. But it's this idea that actually we can all make progress, and that's often what I'm talking about in my work. I think it is helpful just to remember that we can all make progress. It doesn't mean that we're going to become a different person, but we can all go further on that path and develop and change in ways that are helpful for us. So there are a few steps to consider when it comes to developing a growth mindset. And the first one is to embrace challenges. This means embracing challenges head on, knowing that challenges, that bumps in the road, that things going wrong are a normal part of life. They do not mean that you're not good enough. They don't mean that you're on the wrong path, that you should give up. They are not some kind of sign that that you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. They're actually just a really normal part of being human. Challenges are going to come up. You're going to fail. You're going to experience setbacks and criticism. Knowing that that's all a part of the process is going to help you to move forwards and to continue learning and growing and changing. So instead of shying away from difficult circumstances or difficult situations, can you instead view them as a stepping stone towards things getting better, towards more learning, more understanding, and towards getting better? And from my own experience, this is something that I have to say that I struggle with because I am someone who has a kind of a sneaky belief that I should just be good at things in the first instance. And I know a lot of people with a high functioning anxiety have this as well. There's this almost belief that, if I'm not good at it straight away, then I'm never gonna, there's something wrong with me. I should give up. I'm never going to get better. There's no point, that sort of thing. Those are the sorts of thoughts that come up for me. And so this is something that I really have to pay attention to know that if it's challenging, that's okay. To know that that's normal and it doesn't mean that I should give up. It doesn't mean that I shouldn't be doing it. It doesn't mean that I'm not enough. It's just a sign that sometimes things are challenging and that's so human and so normal. And I remember when I was learning Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and I'm hoping to get back into this. I'm looking for a local class here in Lancashire. So if anyone knows of one, let me know. But in Jiu Jitsu, there's a lot of falling over, there's a lot of discomfort, sweaty, sort of rolling around on the floor with, with someone. And it's hard and it's challenging and it's messy. And there was a huge part of me that really wanted to shy away from that. But learning to embrace that, learning to embrace the challenge, learning to embrace the falling over, taught me so much about life and about, this mindset, this growth mindset that I'm, on a path, just like you, to growing and developing myself. So the next one is all about learning from criticism. So it's normal and human to find criticism painful, uncomfortable. Some of us are very sensitive to criticism. And it's literally, I talked about this in another podcast, but emotional pain and physical pain, your brain processes it in the same way. So, emotional pain and physical pain, your brain experiences that in the same part of the brain, whether it's emotional or physical, it's still pain. And so, criticism can be very painful. And yet, our mindset around criticism has the potential to be, really helpful for us if we can embrace criticism as something that is a useful signpost towards helping us to learn and grow and get better. If we can have this sense that every bit of criticism, and I'm not actually not every bit of criticism, excuse me, some bits of criticism are not helpful. If someone is commenting on your appearance on Instagram, saying something nasty, if it's something, a personal comment that, isn't helpful, then we don't want to regard those. We can disregard those. What I'm talking about in terms of criticism is maybe it's your partner pointing out something that you could be doing better in the relationship. Maybe it's your boss or a colleague or a good friend of yours. and they are coming from a good place. It's constructive criticism. And this is the sort of criticism that we want to be learning to embrace, learning to welcome, and saying, actually, I'm not perfect, and that's okay. I can use this information to help me to be better. And I have to say, for me, just saying that out loud, I think part of the reason that for me personally, criticism can be hard is because I have this expectation that I should be perfect, that I shouldn't be making mistakes, and that I should keep other people happy all the time. And of course, that is not feasible or reasonable. It's a very unreasonable expectation to have of myself. So for me, it's about, really trying to step back and say, actually, this is a useful piece of information that I can use. Aidan's pointed out something that he finds challenging with my behavior, and I can change this and it will have a positive impact on the relationship. So instead of deflecting criticism or getting defensive, whereby you go on the attack and start to point out the other person's flaws or the things that they're doing wrong, I'm laughing just because it resonates with me, that approach. Although I have made massive improvements in this area, really being open to welcoming the criticism, listening, noticing what feelings are coming up for you, and allowing those feelings to be there. It may be painful. You may feel, one thing that I quite often notice with criticism is like it feels very, I feel like I want to escape, and I feel like I want to, deflect or go on the attack. But there's something about really like breathing into that, being able to receive that and listen, and then going away and reflecting on that before you come back with a reaction, really sitting with it, reflecting, and then you can have a response. And you can decide whether it's something that you agree with or not, or whether that is useful, constructive criticism for you or not. So number 3 is all about celebrating the success of others. So when we're developing a growth mindset, the success of others gets to be a source of inspiration instead of jealousy or insecurity. I want to just caveat this by saying, again, it's very normal to feel insecure and jealous and not good enough. We are human after all. However, this is the mindset that we want to try to be aiming towards. This mindset of, if that thing is possible for that other person, perhaps it's possible for me as well. If someone else has been able to create that, family, have that home, start that business, reach that fitness goal, be great at speaking on stage, if someone else has been able to do those things, it is at least in theory possible for you as well. And so if we can really harness, what other people are doing as inspiration for, our own path, if we can think to ourselves, actually, that's possible, and maybe that's possible for me as well, then we can turn it into something really positive. And it allows us to tap into more and more of this growth mindset when we do that. So notice what you're saying to yourself when it comes to this. Notice if you're going into comparison and telling yourself that you're not good enough when you notice someone else doing what you want to do. And can you instead say to yourself, it's possible for them, and maybe it's possible for me too. And allowing yourself to feel excited about the possibilities that exist. And I often think that when we're experiencing jealousy or envy, or we're in comparison, and we're noticing other people doing or having or being the things that we want, it's showing us what's important to us. It's showing you, actually, yeah, I really do want a family. Actually, yeah, I really do wish I could, have more success in my business, whatever it might be. Allow that feeling that is highlighting what's really important to you, to be a source of inspiration and motivation for you. Number 4 is all about cultivating perseverance. So that just means not giving up. Not giving up, continuing to try. So much of success, I often think, in whatever area of your life that may be, whether that's your personal growth, whether that's work, relationships, anything, is about not giving up. Because as soon as we give up, that's an automatic fail. And having this sense that we're just going to keep trying until we get to where we want to go. We're just going to keep showing up. We're going to keep doing our best. We're going to keep showing up with that same energy, with that perseverance. That is going to help us to create the change that we want to in our lives. And it's such an important part of a growth mindset because, you know, some of the things I mentioned already, we're going to fail, we're going to experience criticism, we're going to have setbacks, and there are going to be challenges that come along the way. And having this sense that we continue to move forwards, that we continue to give things a try, that we continue to try our best, and knowing that that's enough. And being able to be kind to yourself in the process is really key as well. It's often said that self compassion is like a cushion against failure. If we can treat ourselves as we would a friend, if we can speak to ourselves kindly, give ourselves encouragement, then that will make it so much easier to try again when we do experience those inevitable setbacks and challenges. And that brings me on to the next one, which is positive self talk. I guess we could talk about a whole podcast of positive self talk, but as soon as you're saying to yourself, I can't do this, I'm not enough, that is, you're just blocking yourself from being able to move forwards. And the way that you speak to yourself is one of the most important things in your life. Your relationship with yourself is literally has the power to change so much or hold you back so much. And so if there's one thing you're getting from this episode, it is to cultivate positive self-talk, to learn to be mindful, to really listen to the way that you're speaking to yourself, and consciously bringing your mind back to speaking to yourself as you would a friend. Continue to remind yourself of that every single day. So instead of you telling yourself, I can't do this, it's instead saying to yourself, yeah, I can't do this yet, but with time and effort, I can learn and I can improve. And that is really the essence of a growth mindset and the way that we can speak to ourselves more positively to cultivate that. Lastly, it's all about continuous learning, thinking of yourself as a lifelong learner, a lifelong student, being able to embrace a beginner's mindset, to know that we all start off as beginners in whatever area of life that is. Whether you're embarking on a new job, a new career, you're learning a language, you're learning a musical instrument, you're getting back into dating after a divorce, having this attitude of knowing that it's okay to be a beginner, knowing that we are all learning all the time. And it's important to have this attitude of curiosity. You know, I wonder what will happen. I wonder where this path will lead me. And being really open minded about this journey of learning. You're never going to reach a point where you're done, where you're complete, where you're finished, where that learning ends. And so, embracing this mindset of being a lifelong learner is so, so key. So I'd love to know what you think about this. Do you have a growth mindset already? Is it something that you're moving towards? Is it something you'd like to cultivate more? I'd love to know which of these ideas resonated with you the most. Come and find me over on Instagram. I'm at Chloe Brotheridge. And I would absolutely love to hear from you. It honestly makes my day to get your DMs saying that you're listening to the podcast. So please do come and say hello over on Instagram. And you can also find me over on calmeryou.com, where I'm sharing all the podcasts, blog posts, free resources, and my weekly newsletter. You can sign up for that there as well. So I hope you have a great week ahead. Sending you loads of love, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.